Hi guys, my name is Abby. Welcome to my channel and this small corner I have on YouTube that I'm just now starting. If you guys want to follow along with my life and just see more behind the scenes, little things throughout my day, you can follow me at Little Bit of Joy Blog on Instagram. I don't have a Twitter, so can't follow me there. But anyways, yeah, let's get started with this video and the real reason I decided to get married at 21. Spoiler alert, it was not because I wanted to have sex, which I did with my husband, but that was not one of the reasons we decided to get married, which I know a lot of people who are coming to this video are probably only my family and friends. So I know a lot of them told me that they were like, you just want to live with him and you want to have sex. So that's actually not the main reason we decided to get married. So I wanted to clear that out right away. But one of the first reasons I decided to get married at 21 was because, well, the main reason, I was in love with my husband. And I mean, I am in love with my husband, but I was in love with him, and we both wanted to get married. That's something we've always wanted for our life. I've always wanted to be a wife and mom ever since I was little. So that's been in me for a while, which I feel like that's not everyone's dream, to get married and have a family and do that whole thing. So that was just one of the first little reasons we decided to get married, and I personally did. Another reason was because we were in a position to get married. I was in college, he was in college when we started talking about the idea of getting married and time frame as far as that goes. And I quickly realized that with the major I decided to do, that I was in a position to graduate early if I pushed and worked hard enough to do that. So I did end up taking, I think, like 4 classes in the summer, which was difficult, but it was definitely doable. And after taking those classes, I was able to easily graduate a year early because my husband is a year older than me, so he's always been a grade above me in school. So he was going to graduate in 2019. Before I was working towards graduating a year early, I was set to graduate in 2020. So yeah, once I realized I was able to graduate early, I went ahead and worked towards that. And then that's when we really decided, okay, it makes sense for us to get married, because his family is from Florida, mine's from Virginia. So we graduated both from Liberty University, and we quickly realized if we didn't get married and we decided to graduate at the same time still and be on track in that way, then he would move back to Florida and I would live in Virginia, most likely with my parents and work. And so we kind of had to weigh that option and see if that was even something we wanted to do. Did we want to take a year and just kind of like start establishing our careers, but it would be separate. So we had to think about that. We prayed about it and weighed those options, but honestly, it wasn't even a long discussion. Both Josh and I were both like, no way, we don't want to be separated. We don't want to live a year apart and doing long distance. We hated long distance when we had to do it just for like a few months here and there during the summer and on breaks. We knew that was not something we ever wanted to do by choice. So we decided, okay, the only thing that makes sense for us is to get married, because living together before we got married and sleeping together was not an option for us. And that leads me into my next point. Another huge reason I decided to get married at 21 and as early as I did was because Josh had everything I had always prayed and looked for in a man. And one of those big things for me, the first thing that I always looked for in a man, was for him to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, just as I have. And obviously Josh had that. He is the most humble person I know, and he carries that into his faith and just how he lives his life. And I'm so in love with him, and I'm like just astounded by the person that he is, and just how he follows Jesus and the choices he makes on a daily basis that just reflect his love for the Lord. So that was another huge part of why I felt good about getting married so young. Another reason we got married at such a young age was because we were financially okay to do that. Perfect, but we weren't gonna starve. We were gonna be able to pay all of our bills with what we had saved so far. We were in a position to, once we got back from our honeymoon, buy a car, a second car, because we both were commuting pretty far for our jobs right away. And while we were on our honeymoon, ironically enough, which is a story we will absolutely get into later, we did end up buying a house. So that was on our honeymoon. So that was another act of trust and a story for later, which I definitely will do with Josh. But anyways, yeah, we were financially in a place where it did make sense to get married as well, which I do think is a big deal. I don't think that you have to have everything lined up, but I do think you should be able to meet your needs, buy food, and pay your bills. That's all I'm going to say on that. Lastly, there were no red flags with Josh, and I say that because a controversial thing with getting married young, and that people were constantly telling me specifically, was you have to date him for this length amount of time in order to completely know if he's the one that you should get married to. Some people were like 4 years and then be engaged a year. Some people said absolutely you need to at least be dating for 2 years. And personally, I'm not going to share how long Josh and I decided to date and be engaged for, because I don't think that that's super helpful, because I don't want anyone watching this video and thinking, oh, because she did it this way, she's advising other people that it needs to be the X amount of time before you get married to date and those kind of things. But rather, I think the important thing, instead of how many years, how many months that you spend together before you get married, should be the experiences you have and the situations you've seen your spouse be in before you get married. For instance, I really think it's important, if your husband, wife, before you get married, has a good relationship with their family, to see them in a circumstance where they're with their family. And I say a good relationship with their family because I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't on speaking terms with their family, so I don't want to stereotype every situation to be the same. Another thing I think you should see your spouse be in is around his friends, plenty of times, around his female friends, his male friends, just all different things like that. See them if they volunteer frequently, see them when they're doing their hobbies, go to their sports games. Just those types of things I think are important, because you really, all those experiences and people make up who your spouse is, which I think is important to see, because there might be circumstances where you're like, I don't like who you are in this environment, and that's important to talk through before you get married. So I don't think it's about the amount of time that you're together. I think it's about the experiences and whether you're able to resolve conflict. That's another big thing that Josh and I walked through, was we have totally different styles of communication, which was very hard to reconcile at first, but talking through it, communication, having fights here and there, not like explosive fights, but I'm saying like disagreements, I guess would be a better word than fights, where you're able to both have totally different opinions and you come together not in full agreement necessarily, or oh, I see your point exactly, but where you do come together and are able to resolve those kinds of things. So I think that those are all really important things, and that is ultimately one of the biggest reasons I felt so confident about getting married at such a young age, was that I had seen him in every circumstance I could think of, and we had talked through like everything, every tough conversation known to man, which I'm not saying you have to do, but I'm saying that's what we did. And that is what made me so confident to get married at such a young age, and how I was so confident that he was the one. So there's a lot of things that I talked about, but I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope this all made sense, and I hope that you guys are able to take something from this video and apply it to your relationship if you're considering getting married young, if you are married young, and if there's things that you'd like to that I've said in this video that you'd like to apply to your own marriage. So the next video I think we're gonna do is why we saved ourselves for marriage and whether that was an awkward experience, some tips that we have for it, and Josh is gonna join me, so I'm super excited. I tried to convince him to do this video with me right now, but he's super sick today, so he should be in the next video. So thanks for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what kind of videos you'd like to see more, if you have thoughts on this topic that I just talked through. Yeah, and all your feedback, and like this video if you liked it. So thank you. Bye guys.